Unknown. Unknown. Well,
Read the comic. What do you
all right,
want?
ladies and gentlemen, this is the questionnaire. I am Jay D-Day Hardaway, and apparently that dude reading that comic book is the unknown factor. Um, we are here with our special guest, Paul Wines, the owner of Black Tulip Comics. Uh,
Oh yeah, that's right. My bad. I forgot we had a show Hardaway. There was some scheduling issues and this and that, and you know what I mean. But Paul's in the house.
Yeah,
What's up?
yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. He was stuck reading that comic because that's his new favorite right at the moment.
Hey, look, I will say something killing the children has been phenomenal. It has. It has.
Phenomenal. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, phenomenal.
I said phenomenal.
No, you didn't. We'll run that back for you.
I'll run it back. I'm the one that does the editing. Proceed. What are we doing? Right? Don't you have a first question to ask Hardaway?
I mean, we do, but like, are we sure that's the one we want to go with? Like, okay, so we want to know the most epic question ever. Why do you even want to make comics, man?
That's a very, very big, large, open question. I wanted to write a book, but I realized I couldn't sit down and write 1,000 pages of a novel. I can imagine it all in my head. That's easy. But sitting down and writing 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever words it is, forget it.
Wait. So real quick, you were trying to make the next Game of Thrones thing, because I mean, those books are only 1,000 a piece. Paul, I know because I've read them all that have come out, and I don't think he's ever going to finish the series. But that's neither
He's
here
not.
nor there.
Now, hang on a second,
But
though.
but
What?
10,000, dude, if you make a 10,000 page book, I don't think anyone would read it.
Not
Paul, no
pages,
offense.
not pages, words.
Oh, yeah, man, you said pages. I swear on my life.
I
You said
apologize.
10,000 words, bro. Are you, you
No, I'm not all right. I am the unknown factor. That's neither here nor there. But let's proceed.
all right? All right. Hey, I honestly understand that one. Not being able to sit down and write for long extended periods of time. But I was at this Renaissance festival and this guy told me something one time. He was like, "Look, if you spend an hour a day on whatever you're doing, just 1 hour, at the end of the year, you put 365 hours into that project." And I was like, well, damn, that makes a lot of sense, sir.
Bro, you got to
um,
put more than an hour a day into the questionnaire, but that's besides the point.
it is what it is. All right,
But
so
it's more exciting when you see it down on on a piece of paper with pictures.
it
So
is.
what was it, man, that made you decide to switch from? I mean, because you wanted to write or you wanted to write a novel. What was it that made you switch and be like, I want to write a comic instead? Like what moment? I mean, because there had to be a moment.
But I went to a Comic Con and I could see some of the things that were going on there. I picked one or two comics up and I thought to myself, are you serious? You know, if people could get away with the stories that they were telling people, and people were buying them, and I thought my imagination is an awful lot better than that.
I
And
got to know, Paul. Do you remember what two comics?
sorry, no comment.
No comment. Like you won't tell us what two comics it was.
I
no,
can't. I don't
that's
upset.
just. I understand completely. I understand completely. Don't no need to rock the boat when the boat it doesn't need to be rocked. Oh,
But looking at it and looking at the comics we were looking at the time and the artwork. I literally trawl the internet for artists. I spend hours looking for artists. I don't just work with anybody. I've got a load of people that I've tried, I've paid one page for, and just blow them away because I know what I want, and you get a certain feeling, you know, and it's important that you not only develop a relationship with the artist, but you develop a relationship with the characters and the story flows, and that's the way comics work.
All right, so I got a question for you.
Fire away.
Um, what made you want to write about a character that has kind of like a steampunky feel? Because
Right.
Spring Hill Jack, for one, I dig the art style, the black and white with the color here and there, because that's like what I was gonna go with my comic that I'm drawing and writing. But so that's really cool. I was just really interested on like the whole steampunk ordeal idea and whatnot. So what made you want to do that route?
The character is from what they call the penny comics from penny newspapers in the Victorian era. That's where the
Hmm.
story is from. And if you look at the story, that's all it is a story. But if you look in Wikipedia, people have seen this character in 1970 odd running across a motorway in England, right? So there's a fantasy about this character. And when I went to Comic Con in London, the amount of people that came up to me and wanted to know what my take of the guy was quite phenomenal. So the character himself has a big following. He's an early day Batman. He's an early day Spider-Man. Um, the reason we did steampunk is because we wanted to go a little bit different with the character himself. We wanted to give him gadgets, although at this particular moment in time they're not great gadgets, but we wanted to give him something to start him off. And that's the way you develop the character. In the next comic that is 3/4 written, he starts to become a lot more James Bondy, if you like, but he'd still be in the steampunk era.
Well, let me ask you,
Yeah.
what made you choose a character that was already that had already existed, as opposed to creating your own?
Um, that's a good question. Because when I penny dreadfuls, that's what they call the
Penny
Victorian.
Dreadfuls. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, the penny dreadfuls, but these are the original ones, no, not the ones people are making up now. The original penny dreadfuls, they started to tell stories about them. And when I realized what the stories actually said, and when I looked into them, I thought, hang on a second, now these people are portraying this guy as something totally, totally different. And then when I started to look him up in Wikipedia, I could see that there were several different versions of that he was a ghost, that he was a spectre, that he was a person that just came and disappeared like a puff of smoke. And I thought, there's something in this. And the more I looked into it, the more I could see that there was the beginnings of a very good story there. So I was going for the intrigue of it, of the story.
Did you have any intents to throw in any other characters that trademarks have expired? You know what I mean? As far as just characters that are free use at this point. I think the main thing I would think of in that regard is a lot of Universal monsters. A lot of their trademarks have expired just because they're so old and they've become free use. I think it's funny Mickey Mouse is about to, but I don't think Disney's going to let that one go. That's a whole other point.
You good,
Well,
bro?
I think he's frozen
What do
out.
you?
He sure did. That's a good pose too. All
Yeah,
right,
no,
so you
trademark
one
that.
of your favorite actors is The Rock.
Yeah, I like him. I like the fun. He's so yeah. He's got that fun element about him, and he's larger than life, isn't he?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, he's a. Yeah, I enjoy The Rock myself. I enjoy his movies. I've really been liking him with Kevin Hart. His movies that he's been doing with Kevin Hart have been quite
Yes,
entertaining.
very
My
good.
Very
favorite.
entertaining. Yeah, you're so. Oh! He's starting to move. Hey, calm that down.
Hey, look, man. I wasn't given one because I don't. Don't you know the label? But that's besides the point, right? Proceed with the question, whatever it was.
Uh,
You frozen.
oh, geez. All right. Oh. So after reading this and whatnot, I really, really want to know what is that song that you say that will get on our nerves?
I got a song that'll get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I got a song that'll get on your nerves, get on your nerves.
And I take it that's it. It's just a repeat of that. That would get on my nerves after a while.
Oh yes, it's like when you've got a I've got a granddaughter. It's like when you sit down and listen to the wheels of the bus.
All right. So after this interview, I'm going to introduce you to a couple people that help you out with that one. Your daughter,
Oh no,
your granddaughter might like them more, so you can at least not go crazy. Because I have a 3-year-old, so I have to listen to all the children's songs myself, and I found a way to not go crazy because I found different versions.
have you heard McDonald's old McDonald's farm from Australia?
No.
Or you need
No, not the Australian version.
you need to have a listen to that. On that, old McDonald has an electric fence. Old, old McDonald
Wait,
has
wait,
a
wait,
hairy
wait, Paul.
alligator.
You, it seriously says Old McDonald has an electric fence.
Yep,
Part of my brain can't buy that, dude. Are you serious? What? No.
I
Yeah.
am serious.
Oh, you cut out. You cut out, sir.
And I think it's called Grandpa Micmac as a farm, right? That's what
I'm
it's
looking
called.
this up right now because I am
Okay, yeah,
so interested in it. Grandpa
Micmac.
McMag.
Yeah.
Can I just say real quick to come back to the questionnaire, man? I find it very interesting that the comic book movies you think did the comic books the most justice were the original Batman series and then the Batman. I say that specifically because they are very, very, very different versions of Batman.
Yeah. The first one is really, really stylized, isn't it? It's comic stylized. The first one.
Yeah. Because there's even the bang and the pows and the booms and the big captions, compared to the Batman, which has one of the funniest comic book movies. Batman should have died in that moment that I've ever seen. As far as when it takes his flight suit screws up and he hits the bridge. I think we brought this up on 2 episodes ago, if memory serves me proper. Um, that breaks the whole, realism because dude, you're a human. You could have died. You know what I mean? But what makes you pick those two, especially based on how different they are? You know what I mean? I just think it's odd that you pick those as far as they've lived up to the comic book best because there's such different iterations of the character.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's more because one lives up to a certain era of Batman, while the other lives up to more the modern Batman take that they've done, like the Batman Year One stuff?
Yeah. There's a big contrast in it, and I like the contrast in the styles. Um, The Batman, I sat down. This is a 3-hour movie. I sat down and I didn't even go to the toilet in the middle of it. Boom, boom. That's how engrossed I was. I thought it was absolutely stunning. I've seen a load of the Batman ones, but that particularly just stood out because to me it took more of my attention than most Batman movies. You know, and then going back to what you said about the original, well, Burgess Meredith will always be the Penguin, and Cesar Romero will always be the Joker, and you know, and that's the characters that they will always be remembered as.
I have to bring up based on what you said. What did you think of Heath Ledger's Joker?
Oh, too near the knuckle. I used to work with people with learning deafs, and I actually thought that it depressed me watching it, because I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm just saying it was just too near the knuckle.
No, wait. I'm referring to The Dark Knight, not the Joker, right?
Sorry, wrong one. No.
Okay, that's fine. And firstly, Paul, I understand as far as in concerns to the Joker. It shows. I think I had that. One of my favorite memes is from that film. It's like, how do you create the Joker in the 1980s? You throw him into a vat of chemicals. How do you create him in 2020? You throw him in society.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. You're right. You're right. I've seen a load of Jokers. Yeah, it's different. You know, the thing is, they've all got to be judged on their own merit, because every Batman film basically is different. Does that make sense to you?
Very much so. I mean, I think the trilogy of the Dark Knight Rises and all of those, there's, you know, but as far as when, like, ostensibly when you changed Batman's,
Yeah.
I think is what it is. When the actor changes is when whatever is happening changes greatly as well. I mean, come on, George Clooney had nipples. That was a little much. He did, dude. The bat suit for Batman and Robin. There were nipples on Batman and Robin. Don't like look sideways at me like I'm spewing BS. It's a fact.
I know. I just tried not to pay attention.
I got Hardaway choking up over here, Paul, from facts, man.
He's watched Grandpa McMuck.
I did. I didn't get to the part where it talked about an electric fence, but he did talk about a crocodile.
Yeah, it's after the crocodile. The hairy crocodile, yeah.
Yeah, the hairy crocodile.
I mean, I guess if it's in Australia, you probably do have a crocodile on the farm. I'll give you that, you know, so hey.
Yeah, why not?
What was I say? There's a flip back that, right? I think it's funny that you say those are the films that lived up most to you. And then you go straight to DC again with the next question. The film that didn't live up the most was Man of Steel, which, look, I could go on for days as far as the films that didn't live up to the comic book. You know, I could. Like, it's an endless list. I really need to read Two Guns. Shout out to Stephen Grant, who came on for 2 hours and chatted it up. I didn't realize I'd even seen that movie, nor that it was based on a comic book. Therefore, making the statement I've said previous times on the show even more just true. Like, I didn't know that was based on a comic book at the time that I watched it in 2013. And I mean, comic books are just ostensibly in film and TV are all over the place. From hell, there's all kinds of things. But why the Man of Steel, in your opinion? I'm curious. Because like I said, I mean, when you go through, especially if you know every film and comic book that was made around or about a film and comic book, dude, there's a lot. It makes me wonder how many people watch that just have no idea that, hey, this is somebody wrote this before it was written as a script. But yeah, why the Man of Steel?
to be quite honest with you, this might sound stupid, but it just really didn't appeal to me.
I'm not a big Superman fan, but
Yeah, nor am I. We're gonna get some people that have worked heavily on Superman on the questionnaire one day. And they're gonna be like, "Man, I hear you hate Superman." We're both gonna be like, "Yeah."
It's not that I hate
I tell you, my main problem. My main problem with that film, Paul, is he picked up an island of kryptonite.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
Really? That's the part that killed me. I'm like, because you're taking a character that is essentially supposed to have god level powers. He has this one weakness, and now you say, "Oh, well, that one weakness doesn't matter. He can overcome it." No, then you made God.
Hang on a second. I thought you said I just picked up an island of kryptonite. In
Oh
other words,
no!
I just
No,
give
in the movie,
voice to Jarvis.
you can pick up an island of kryptonite and throw it at Superman. That'd be cool. Hopefully he don't. Hopefully it kills him.
now look,
Yeah.
the man picked up a island of cryptid. That makes zero sense. That's another reason why I will never watch it. Trash. But director trash, writers for that one trash. Everybody was just trash. If that's what happened in that movie, trash. They just need to stop playing around and just make a Power Girl movie and call
I
it,
will say, Henry Cavill, in my opinion, does make a good Superman. As far as the actor, I think it's a good choice.
yeah.
Yes.
But he's never had a chance, in my opinion, to play that character up to what is possible. Which, I mean, like I said, me and Hardaway ain't particularly fans of the character, but I think it's just sad to see. I think I'm curious, man. Within that, well, let me ask you. I mean, because you've seen it, you've seen the fact that comics went from not mainstream at all to Walmart carries this shirt. You know what I mean?
Yep, he froze
What do you
again.
think caused that, man? Don't tell me that, Hardaway. I don't freeze.
It's
I
difficult.
ain't froze.
If you could bottle that and sell it, it would be great. Appeal is something individual, and that's one of the things I said to you. What would you like to bring up? And I said, how do you make something a brand? Because I told you I've got a kids comic coming out next, and I want it to be a something.
You know, in all honesty, as far as making something a brand, I think there are several things that go behind it. I think one of them is definitely, actually, I think the first and foremost is probably money,
As money.
unfortunately, because, yeah, that's just the society we live in. But there are exceptions that make it past that without having to have like the shit ton of money that is necessary for that. You know what I mean? Um, and sometimes it's just a good system. Sometimes it's a good message. Sometimes it's a number of things. Like if you look at like, and I say good system because if you watch The Founder, which is about the founding of McDonald's, it's because some dude seen a good system and was like, "Oh well, I'm gonna buy this from under them and then just take it, and that's what I'm gonna do." You know, so I think in building a brand, there are so many different factors, and not to play up to my name, it's unknown which one will actually work in regard of what you're doing. You know, and that's the kind of the unfortunate, yet at the same time fortunate thing about it.
So how was your branding work for you? Sorry, turning the interview on its head.
Oh,
Because
uh,
we're two top artists that do comic book interviews, and we got personal issues as far as we're both kind of crazy,
I don't know what he's
and I
talking
don't think
about.
there's anybody. Shut up, Hardaway. And I don't think there's anybody as far as that does comic book interviews for people to this capacity that to that end. I've watched several comic book podcasts. They tend to have a certain rhetoric and a certain rhetoric. Hardaway don't and myself don't follow that. Like I said, I run NFGR. I'm very much off the wall. I know, like I go by like I'm the unknown factor, and I live up to that name far more than I'd like to. I think in part maybe that's what it is. Why are you eyeballing me, bro? I mean, do you have an opinion on how to build a brand, Hardaway?
Oh, be yourself. Do you, man? Be yourself. Do you? Um, Pay for the Google advertisements, pay for the Facebook advertisements and whatnot. If you spend $1 a day, $2 a day, whatever. The idea behind it is to constantly push yourself and flood the market with whatever you have and whatever you need. You're doing. That doesn't necessarily say diminish the quality of what you're doing and what you're making. It just means as soon as, all right, for instance, we didn't put out an issue like an episode until we had 5 recorded and ready.
Right.
All right. So the idea is to make sure that you have consistency. So you have um, something to give the people, not necessarily all the time, because then you're going to work yourself to death and whatnot. But at least pump out something for them once a week, or in your case, once a month, due to being a comic book and whatnot. So, like, if you were to put yourself um, 3 issues for each, let's say you have 3 comics that you're trying to put out, and you get 3 issues ready for each one. All right. So if you're doing a monthly release, you gave yourself a 3-month leeway to put out the next issue. I'd like to get the next issue ready. So if it only takes you a month to get an issue ready, you can now have 3 issues ready. So your next half a year is complete, so on and so forth. It's just, it's the same thing when you work in the RV industry. That's what we do. We are at least 2 or 3 units ahead than the person in front of us. And that's the idea, is just to constantly stay ahead of yourself. So um, that's all I can say. Oh, and when you're doing your branding and whatnot, yours is the one that matters. Just kindly and tactfully move it back to where, if someone's asking you questions and whatnot, move it back to where this is where it is. My comic, so on and so forth. We're just weird because we want to know everything. So
Hey, if you
That's
don't
why you get really
understand, you don't
screwy
find out.
questionnaire.
yeah, that's why we have the pre-questionnaire, because we send you the pre-questionnaire, you answer a bunch of questions and whatnot. People will have access to these at some point. Some point. But
Maybe,
maybe.
maybe.
But the point is that now we have this part of you, and then we can ask things like, what's your favorite food?
Ooh, curry.
Curry.
Yeah.
All right, so check this out. I make a honey chicken curry.
Ooh, I'd like to try that.
It's pretty tasty, if I do say so myself.
Why did you
But
ask him what your food is when it's on the? Oh, you're asking. You were giving an example of what we ask on the questionnaire. I take it.
yeah, just random things and whatnot. Also, what's your
Okay,
favorite
because I'm gonna
vacation
put that
spot?
on the questionnaire.
Like we ask weird stuff like your favorite vacation spot too.
Hey, but you know what? You know what? On a weird question note, I want to know, Paul.
By the way,
You ever get frozen French bread pizza?
Uh, I knew he was gonna
sorry,
ask this.
say that again.
Do you ever get frozen French bread pizza?
No,
Okay, you ever been in the? But you ever been in the store and seen it?
no,
Right? Are you serious, man? You know what French bread pizza is?
no. We don't get in this country.
Never fucking mind to the gentlemen that don't curse. Like, what the crap is that?
Listen, do you eat deep fried Mars bars?
That sounds fire. That sounds really tasty.
That really does, but you do make a valid point, Paul. Fair enough. Location, location, location.
Do you eat lava bread, seaweed?
Yes.
Yeah, not our lava bread though. Not South Wales lava bread.
No, I was talking about the seaweed. I don't know about the bread. I have never heard of the bread, but
No, no,
seaweed, yes.
that's what it's called. It's called lava bread, and it comes. It's like a big, dark green, almost black glutinous lot that sits on your plate.
Oh, God, that sounds horrible. In all honesty, no,
You're
I'm
gonna
talking
say
about dry. It's like
no,
dry seaweed chip thingies. Tastes
no.
like the ocean. Nasty.
Yeah, it does take a bit. It does take a bit like the ocean, but oh no, you have it with bacon and an egg for breakfast.
All right, all right. Now, what the heck is a Welsh cake?
Right. It's a flat um, cake that's baked on a stone, baked on a bake stone, and
Okay.
you normally have currants in it.
It normally has what?
You normally have currants in it, but today, because of the changes, they cut them in half. Sometimes put jam in the middle of it, or lemon curd, or Nutella, that sort of thing.
Oh,
All right. Look, let's change this. This has turned way in too much. Like, this is not a food show. I want to clear that. I want to clear that up right now because it is turning into one. Right. So let's flip
all
it
right.
back
But
around.
FYI though, before we switch it up, Welsh cakes, I had to look them up and whatnot because I want to see what they look like. They look tasty though.
Man, look, I'm surprised you're not eating. To be real honest, you eat on almost every episode, but that's neither here nor there. Shit, always going damn food. Look, bro, I was thinking about don't get something like crunchy. It's gonna make a bunch of noise, you a-hole. All right, that's fine. Let me ask though, man. I mean, with you doing what you're doing, God, Hardaway, I love you, bro. Um, and getting into the comic industry, what do you think as far as the change from? I mean, previously it was all print to now you have the digital medium coming in. You know what I mean? To where people can get and purchase these comics and never actually own, you know, a physical
Yeah,
copy
hobby.
that they can
Yeah,
hold and flip through, and which me and my co-host will debate this endlessly. To me, this is way more enjoyable. You know what I mean? To be able to actually flip the pages and see them. Hardaway says it don't matter. I know we've had. I think Grant said like I understand. He's like it's just a thing of like you don't have to amass a huge collection and be able to read it. I understand that. You know. But what's your overall opinion of that as far as just the digital and the medium and the difference and what it's done to the industry as a whole?
I like books. I like books. I like to hold a book. I like to read through a book. I like to have it in my hands. You know, I
Yeah,
like I like
much
the
so.
smell of the new printed book. You've got all that stuff, but I totally
See,
understand it.
wait, hold on. I don't, wasn't it Grant that said that, Hardaway? It was. And I agree. I don't get it. What is it about the smell that gets you? Paul, I gotta know. Because like literally Stephen Grant and we all talked about this. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I really don't get that one. It's more the feel and being able to have it in my presence and like flip the pages. What is it about the smell, man? I gotta know.
Um, there's a certain smell of the
I
paper
agree.
of the paper.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes you can pick up a musty book. You know that you've got a musty book, but on a brand new page, when you turn in the page or flip in the pages, whichever way you want to look at it, you can smell. You can smell it, the pages as they go past you. But with a comic, you're actually smelling the inks, and you can actually put smelly inks in your comic if you wanted to.
Did you just say smelly eggs?
Yeah,
He said inks, not eggs.
inks, INKS.
Inks, man, my bad. I thought I heard eggs, and I was like, hold the hell on.
No, you can well that you can actually put an order. Yeah, you could put that order in it.
I was just letting y'all know why I was.
PG-13 went out the window.
That's besides the point.
Yeah, you can put all sort of orders in your book if you wanted to. That obviously would cost, but
Well, what do you think? What do you think about the fact that I believe it was Kiss that
What?
used their blood to make the book?
What'd you say?
did I want to get
Kiss used a comic made a comic book using their own blood. I believe it was Kiss. I really hope I'm not getting that right. I'm about 99.9% sure it was Kiss that made a comic book using their blood. Hardaway, Google that for me right now. It was a limited press, obviously, too, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it would definitely
Watch, Hardaway, you're gonna find out right.
Oh my God.
All right, so let me
Yes.
ask my again, then, based on the fact that Hardaway's just proven me adamantly right. What do you think about the fact that somebody doing something like that, like literally taking their own blood and using it in the ink?
Right, I will tell you a story. We've got a local legend with us of a young girl. This is going back in the 1700s. A young girl who fell for a thatcher, and her mother wanted her to marry a lawyer. And she forbid the girl to talk to this thatcher at all. So she used to write letters to the thatcher in her blood on leaves and put them out the window. Kiss, you're 200 years too late.
Damn, bro, you just dissed on Kiss. That's hilarious. I don't even care.
I'm sure there's older stories than that even, but
But yeah, that's local to me.
But what do you think about it being in a comic book, man? I mean, how many copies of that did they press, Hardaway? Does it say? Because I know it was limited.
Say that again.
I'm curious how many comics they pressed that had their blood. I'm just asking Hardaway real quick. But I'm curious to you, Paul. Like, is that something you would ever do? Like, would you ever take it to that kind of extreme, making a comic book?
all right, so we
I
just got to find out how many of the original Kiss issue #1 comic was pressed. How many were pressed?
Well, you do that while I continue the interview. I'm curious then, Paul. What's the most extreme thing you would do to push your book?
I don't know. It's a really good question. And do you know something? I ain't going to answer. Curses.
Terrible question left unanswered.
No, it's not a terrible question. It's just something that makes you think. I saw we were at a craft fair or a book market, if you want to call it that, in Cardiff, and recently, and I saw this person, shall I say, who was selling a book on the same stall, and she was literally badgering people to buy it. And that's one thing I won't do, because I believe if they don't want to buy it, they shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think that's a method as far as badgering people, because I think in that you're more likely to run somebody away that might have bought it based on them seeing your activity with the person you're badgering than get a sale from the person you're badgering. But again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right there, because I want people to buy it because they're interested in it.
Yes.
My publisher was telling me that there was this young boy that came up and actually saw my comic on the. Well, we don't call it a comic; we got to call it a graphic novel because it sells more money.
Well, now wait. How thick is the first issue you put out?
Yeah, it sells for more money, so that's what we did. But one,
No, I get that, Paul, but Like, I mean, because we've had graphic novels in the States too. You know what I mean? But typically a graphic novel is at least a collection of 5 comic books.
Yeah, but this was our first. This is this kid's novel, graphic novel. This is our first. This is
Well, how many pages is it?
Only 36.
See, I would call that a comic book all day, every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Go ahead, though. Yeah, but that's just differences in cultures and area, man. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah. Anyway, so one kid came up to it and grabbed his mother and said, "I want that." To me, that's worth more than 30 or 40 sailors, I guess.
How did that feel, Paul?
Absolutely fantastic. But that means that, unfortunately, the artist I work with for this lives in Indonesia, and we've had lots of problems. They had a volcano go up, so his house was under 8 foot of ash. We've had, landslide. We've had loads of problems. So it's taken us a very, very long time to write this kids comic. And the second one is going the same way as well, because they've got problems out in Indonesia. They've stopped PayPal for some reason. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's fun.
My favorite and least favorite part of that story at the same time is a volcano went out, or a volcano went off, and his house was covered in like just inches and inches and inches of ash. Because it's like, that's kind of dope. That's crazy that you managed to work through that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the same time, I really feel bad for your artist that he had to deal with that. Because I can only imagine, like, I mean, I'm in Indiana, and sometimes we just get crap snow. You know, it's ridiculously high. I can only imagine dealing with that in ash form, and just, yeah, that seems like a completely different pain in the ass.
Man, but your garden would be beautiful. All right, but check this out. What? It would.
Go ahead, Hardaway.
They made over 500,000 copies due to the fact that that's just how many they sold.
Well, they weren't in their blood then, were they?
Yeah, no, the first issue launched, they sold 500,000 copies, bro.
It's mainly because they had their blood in it, and it was Kiss, and that's
Yeah.
the main point. And that's one of those things, as far as what you were to go back to, as far as creating a brand. I think that's something that really helped them to get into the comic book industry, Paul, is the fact that they, as a group, were literally willing to put their blood into the ink of into the comic book. You know what I mean? So it made it people that were just fans of the music were way more likely to pick up that comic book, because it's like, oh my God, this is Kiss's blood. You know what I mean? Like, they had their whole Kiss army just wanted that comic, even if the people there had never read a comic book in their life. And then I'm sure there were people that were comic book collectors that weren't fans of Kiss that did exactly the same, because it was like, dude, they did it with their blood. That's amazing. You know, sometimes it takes something kind of ludicrous. That's another way how you create a brand.
How much blood goes in each copy if there's 500,000?
Not a lot.
From what I understand, mixed into the ink. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a lot. It's not like you're going to get a DNA sample and be able to clone Gene Simmons or anything.
Because I can imagine them all standing by a blood machine. You know, give us some more, give us some more, give us some more.
All right, so I got a question, because this is what we do. We ask questions here and whatnot. Now, you like red, you like blue, but do you like Ron Burgundy?
Do I like brown?
Ron Burgundy. Nice. Oh, I'm gonna die. No, Ron Burgundy is a character from Anchorman.
Wrong.
Ron Burgundy. Yeah.
I have seen him. He's Anchorman, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on Anchorman. Yes, he is the the greatest Anchorman of all time.
Why the holy hell did I think Parks and Rec, man? I
I
was
don't
thinking
know.
of
I don't know. That's why I just didn't keep going with that one. I just let you go with that and whatnot. And I don't like goat cheese either, but we're moving on. Um, excuse me, peanut butter, tasty. All
wait,
right,
I
no,
just have peanut butter and some Starburst crap. Whatever, dude. I don't know what kind of weird combo you're doing over there, but
greatness, bro, greatness. Look, and we should get paid for that. Um, so here's the thing, because we're from America.
Yeah.
Does it really rain all the time in England?
I don't live in England. I live in
Oh,
Wales.
oh, see, and that shows how much ignorance I got.
Ah,
What?
it,
at least I had an excuse, you know? Whatever. Like, grabbing no more. I don't think I need no
All right,
more.
so
but yes, we in South Wales get a lot of rain.
But wait a second. You know what I just noticed, Hardaway?
you got
Do
an
you see
echo.
his comic book character growing up?
Look, his favorite.
Why is this a running theme? That being
Because
this
look,
gentleman on the very
look, because Cyclops is gangster. Look, the reality of the matter is that Cyclops is awesome. All right. He turned into a douche, but he was absolutely awesome. And
I
Wolverine's an
know, no.
asshole. Like, let's just be real.
I,
Wolverine's an asshole and caused the whole entire problem between Jean Grey and Cyclops. Just saying.
all right, so check it. Dude, I can't even tell you how many people have. I would literally, I would have to go through all the questionnaires that I have to see how many people have answered Cyclops. I know it's been several. We're only 11 episodes deep.
Yeah,
It's amazing to me that there's been such a lack of variety in that answer. Whatever, I don't care. That's fine. Why Cyclops?
yeah, because you we were growing up in that era that the American comics were sort of hitting our streets over here, and I think we had a weekly or a monthly X-Men comic, and I used to just love. I'd spend hours sitting down and drawing them. You know, it was X-Men and Thor. You know, so but I used to love Cyclops. Don't know why. Perhaps because he's got a power. You know, and it's an overwhelming power, I guess, sometimes because he can't control it himself, and that's interesting. It's like us because we
Fair
can't
enough.
control
No,
our emotions
I'm
sometimes.
curious. Dude. Let's get into that real quick, man. You being over in Wales, and I mean, I've read several comics from over in that area. I mean, I'm pretty sure 2000 AD operates right within that area. You know, that's where they're based. I mean, they're not based in Wales. I believe it's the UK, but still, it's not the US. Is my point. It's over the pond. Is my point. What do you think is the difference between the market over there and being a creator over there, as opposed to being a creator in the US?
Well, we haven't got the size of the market. Obviously, because your country's a lot bigger than our country, we haven't got the size of that market. And in that market, there's a big diversity. So we haven't got that diversity. So if I wanted to create a medieval story, my market over here would be sort of very limited. But perhaps in the States, it would be an awful lot bigger. And because of that, there's a lot of because you have so many comic cons, and your comic cons are a lot larger than ours. The footfall in them is a lot more. We went up to
Well, why do you think that is, Paul? That the Comic Cons over here are so much larger than the Comic Cons over there? Do you think? Because look, I used to go to like Wizard World when they initially started in Chicago.
yeah
When I was like 15, I remember going to it, and it was very much different than the cons they have nowadays. Because I mean, like I was able to walk up to Stan Lee and he had a crowd of 15 people around him. You tried to do that at the end of his life, it would be 15,000 people around him. You know what I mean? So I'm curious what you think drove that, because I mean, my honest opinion is just the fact of how prolific comics got within TV and films. Do you think there's anything else that drove that?
Yeah, films are driving the Comic Cons and everything else, but you offer a lot more pizzazz than we do. There's a lot more commercializing things in the States than there is over here. And that's the big difference, because I see an awful lot of, when we talk about indie publishers, I went to talk to one indie publisher about 3 months ago, and on his stall were about 20 comics, right? And in our Comic Con there were about 5 publishers or 6 publishers maybe. If I walked into yours and walked out of indie Comic Cons,
I don't mean to laugh when you say that, Paul, but I know for like you said 5 publishers.
yeah,
And I know for a fact back when I was walking in, it was way more than that. And I know for a fact right now, not including the big 2, I could name probably 10 off the top of my head. And all 10 of those in some capacity have been done up into in a like had a comic that was done into a movie or a TV show. You know what I mean? Like out of all 10 of those publishers, whether it's Chaos, Top Cow, Image, Boom, Dynamite, IDW, I mean I can go on and on. You know, and then if you go into the smaller companies that are way more independent, it's I honestly don't even want to look at that list. It'll make my head hurt, Paul. I got no doubt in my mind.
yeah, but that's the difference. You have that capacity over there to make people big, and over here we don't. Like, you've seen my comic Spring Heel Jack. I know a couple of copies have gone to the States, but very few people will see it otherwise.
Well,
Well,
hopefully that'll change.
Say it again.
let me what do you think is necessary for someone to go from being a success over there to being successful over here? Like because the main person I can honestly think of that's from, and I believe it's Ireland. If I'm wrong, Garth, I apologize, but I believe he's Irish. Is Garth Ennis? I think Garth Ennis is somebody from over the pond that has probably had the greatest success in the U.S. I mean, because you know, The Boys was a show, Preacher was a show. A lot of the Punisher films drew from his work. I mean, it's pretty. There's a lot of stuff that people took from Garth Ennis. What do you think it takes? Or I mean, is it just the luck of the draw, or what do you think?
For us to be a success over there, we'd have to get noticed, and we'd have to spend a lot on publicity. Going back to what you said about branding, basically, we'd have to spend a lot of money just to do that, to get things up and running. Sometimes it's a matter of being in the right place at the right time and talking to the right people. You know, and that's a great place to be. But it doesn't always happen.
Well, I do hope we can assist you in that, Paul, and so people go and check out at least the website, maybe pick up a comic too, regardless of where they're at, man. I don't care, because this is the questionnaire and we're available everywhere. Just, I hope you speak English, otherwise you're really not going to understand anything we're saying. But let's flip it to another note, man. I'm curious, right? If you, Paul, let's say money was no option, right? Like money just didn't matter.
Yeah.
And you could pick an artist to draw for you out of the industry, right? Who would you pick to draw for you?
I'm not going to believe this, but I would pick the guy who did Spring Heel Jack for me is a Russian artist. They are very much way out into the country. because they didn't want to get involved with any of the big political things. And they've moved their office from Russia out to somewhere else, just because they want to make comics. And they are a really clever studio. They're only small. There are approximately 8 in the studio, but they've got some fantastic artists in there. Okay, they haven't got big names, but having said that, they don't have massive price tags either. You know, so I'm really, really happy with the people I have. I've sent you pictures of Mona Midnight, and that's what we are doing with them now, when we can get our art through. And that's a labour of love. It's taken 2 years.
Woo.
Yeah, and I guess it's
the last Killer Factory album we just dropped took 3. So I understand the labor of love, and sometimes to get it exactly how you want it, it takes way longer than you would like it to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, when I started out in it, I was thinking of something like a 20-odd page story, but it's already into page 56 now, and it'd probably go a bit further, or I might cut it a little bit short and put something else in with it, because it's about Prohibition and that particular time in the States. And I found out a lot of interesting things about Prohibition, and it made me want to get more into the characters and more into the gangsters and everything else, you know. So when you start researching these things, the artists don't matter. It's what you pour into it. You can have the best artist in the world, or you can have the worst artist in the world. It doesn't make the story really, really good unless you pour in and you actually get your storyline right, and you get the interesting facts right. When Prohibition came to the States, there was a ship came into Swansea, which is 30 miles down the road from me, with 120 tons of alcohol, because they couldn't sell it in the States. Yeah, that's a bit mind-boggling, isn't it?
Bro.
120 tons.
Yeah. Prohibition is one of those eras in time in America that I'm like, I got a lot of a decent amount of knowledge. I won't say a lot, but I got a decent amount of knowledge on and whatnot. A good have you ever heard of Boardwalk Empire?
No.
All right. If you ever get a chance, look up that show. It is highly historically accurate. When it comes to the Prohibition era and whatnot, you'll get to see a young Al Capone and Nucky Thompson and Bucky and all of them. You get to see them all and whatnot, but they get real in depth in what happened in the Prohibition era and whatnot. So if you don't want to do a lot of reading one day and you want something that's visual, that'll give you like a real feel of the era and the time. Boardwalk Empire, because when you get to see how the agents, like the DEA agents, were hunting down some of the gangsters and whatnot, and how they had to extract information from them, people should be glad that law can't do what they were able to do back then. Should be real happy if you're a criminal.
Wow, because Al Capone's money man, the one who did the books for him, his parents were Welsh.
Oh, I believe it. No, they go deep in that. Al Capone had a whole crew of Irish, Welsh, and Scottish men and whatnot. Jewish too. He even had a couple Jews with him and whatnot. Al Capone wasn't what we would call extremely racist or anything like that. He didn't care if you made money. That's where it was mainly at. Hold on.
That sounds interesting.
Bro, I can still totally hear you blow your nose. You taking your headset out of your damn ear didn't help at all. I just want to point that out. Right. I do love though your favorite films, man, but I'm kind of curious because you too. And excuse Hardaway. Gazoon type, bro. Holy shit. Um
Ooh, I
hey,
blow my nose. Sounds like a horn.
yeah, I know. We could still hear it, even with your headset where it was. You might as well have left it in to be real freaking honest. But that's
No, it
besides
would
the
have
point.
been way louder.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you took it out. But you wrote read 1 and 2. I'm curious, like, how do you think those live up to the comics, or have you not read those comic books?
Sorry, which comic books?
Read.
No.
Yeah, are you aware that that was a comic book?
No. I've seen.
Okay. Oh my God. I love it. Real quick, Paul, I got to point out this just again establishes how prolific comic books have become within television and movies. Because we interviewed Stephen Grant on the last episode. He wrote Two Guns for Boom Studios. I watched that movie when it came out. It's Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg. If you haven't checked it out, it's phenomenal. I will be picking up the comic soon because I'm assuming it's better because I've never read a book where the movie, or I've never watched a movie where the book wasn't better. Phenomenal movie though. But it shows me, man. I literally just mentioned to you what is one of your favorite, what you listed as one of your favorite films. You didn't know, as someone in the comic book industry, that it's based on a comic book. Does that kind of baffle you a little that comic books have become that prolific?
No.
It does.
Just think of this. If you, I live in a small town way up in the back end. Well, in a small town in the valleys, right? We don't. All the information I get is off the internet. We don't have any sort of comic shops locally. We don't have. Oh yeah, right.
That hurt a little. Paul, I won't lie. Like right here, you kind of got me.
But my local comic shop is 30 miles away in one direction and 28 miles in a different direction. They're my local comic shops, and that's the difference between us and you.
Well, the funny thing is that I think my local comic book shop is, I mean, it's about an hour drive for me, really. So no, because I live in a very small, very rural, very Republican town. Unfortunately, we won't get into all that. Whatever. Hey man, I didn't say I was a fan. I just said it was where I fucking lived. Um,
Oh my God.
yeah, but my comic book shop is quite a good deals away. That's Comic Book University. If you're ever in the Greenwood area in Indiana, man, hit up Comic Book University. Tell them the Unknown Factor sent you, and they'll be like, "Who?" And then say Jay, and I'll be like, "Oh, that asshole." And I'll be like, "That's right."
And ironically, my comic book, I have two. I have wow, did I really just brain fart? Yes, it was Buy Me Toys is our comic book store that's not that far away actually. And Nappy's Comics, which is also not that far. And I don't live in a huge city, but y'all made me feel like, man, I'm sorry.
You got it better off, Hardaway. Just be happy about it and shut up and move on, right? But Paul, does that really make you think that like situations like that is what made it to where digital got more of a push as well?
Yes, because it's more accessible, and that's what people want. They want access to things. We've talked about going digital with not so much with Jack, but with the kids comic that we're doing because we thought we could get it out there. But what's actually happened is in Wales we have our own book council, and the Welsh Book Council have actually taken the book on. So they will sort of publicise it in the schools, and they'll publicise it when they have an international book fair. They take it to the international book fair and publish it there. And not publish it, push it there.
That's really, really, really cool, Paul. Yeah.
But that was my
Hardaway. Oh, go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead, Paul. You shut up, Hardaway.
See, in Wales, we got our own Welsh language as well. So the book is already translated into Welsh, and hopefully maybe by the end of this month, maybe the end of next month, we can publish it in Welsh as well. So we'll have an English version and a Welsh version. You know, and our Welsh government is trying to aim for 500,000 Welsh speakers by about 10 years' time. So there's quite a big audience out there, you know.
Well, if y'all want to teach me how to speak Welsh, I will learn. I will even have my daughter learn it.
Do you know during the pandemic, Welsh was one of the most sought after languages to learn during the pandemic.
Huh. Interesting.
Do you know why, out of curiosity?
Yeah. That's a good question.
The government are trying to push it a lot. I know that much. And it's quite a difficult language to learn because we've got a lot of mutations of our words at the start and things like that. And you haven't got any such thing in the English language. And
Can I don't mean to interject, Paul, but no, Hardaway, you will not take the time to learn that damn language. You got way too much crap to do as far as for the questionnaire. I ain't got time for you to be studying how to learn Welsh. Like, what the hell, bro? What are you doing? Putting a model together there?
You have no clue what I am doing while I am listening to greatness unfold. But I do I thought you had a question, Unknown, that you're about to ask.
No, man, what I was honestly going to say is I noticed it's about that time, Paul, and it's been a hell of an interview. It's a pleasure having you on. We're going to have you on at a later time. Is there anything, though? Because for some reason, when I printed out the questionnaire, I didn't get the last, 3 questions. I don't know what happened that happened. So I want to make sure, is there anything that we didn't get to that you really wanted to get to? Because I didn't print that question out for some damn reason.
Before we go, and before that, you asked, answer that question. I'm sorry. I got a question.
Well, to be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You're not quite as mad as you think. Well, believe in me.
All right. So I do want to say this, though. When it comes to your comic books and the idea of making them digital and putting them online, I will stand behind webtoons like none other. If you want to get your comic books out there, what, man? I'm sorry. You had me looking up shit, so I was looking shit up and whatnot, and then I fell down a fucking rabbit hole because y'all started talking about Welsh writers and shit. So I started falling down that rabbit hole. So yeah, you're an asshole for that one. You know my ADHD will kick in. You knew my ADHD will kick in and just be like, let me go learn some shit right now. Even though I'm supposed to be asking questions. All right. But on that note, though, webtoons, really get into webtoons and put them on there. The overhead is like next to nothing. And it really will push your comic further. Just due to the sheer fact that you have a really good idea for a storyline and you're keeping even your culture alive because Penny Dreadfuls, that's some old school stuff, and it's like not a lot of people know about that and whatnot. Like I read books that even mention the Penny Dreadfuls and whatnot, so it's like, and they're in fantasy worlds and they're still mentioning them because they want people to realize that they're still around. The sheer fact that you're using some of the characters for a new age and wave of story is age buku plus to me. But that will help you push your stuff on the internet and the webtoons and whatnot, and you will get paid.
Real quick, Hardaway.
What?
completely understand the point making that to Paul, but you said you had a question. None of that was a question.
Oh, the question is what is your adversity to putting Spring Hill Jack on webtoons and stuff on the internet?
I haven't. We just haven't thought about it because I published that with a comic publisher from Wales, and he doesn't push anything much at all. That's another problem. Our publishers are not like your publishers. Foot down on the gas and away you go. And as well as that, we've had the pandemic, so there's a lot of reasons why that's not happened.
2020 did no one any kind of favors, man. I think that can be said clearly for pretty much everyone, you know. But hey, Paul, I do want to say, man, it has been a pleasure. Sorry I was so
Yes.
distracted by something that's killing the children. But, you know, something is killing the children, right? And I'm talking about the real world, not a comic. And maybe we need to figure that out too, right? That's a whole different, way more serious quest that we ain't going to get into on the questionnaire.
Way
right?
too serious.
But yeah, way too serious, man. But we could use some American Slaughters for real in this world. But Paul, before we get you to go, man, can I just get you to be like, yo, I'm Paul Wines. Check me out and drop a little bit of information and be like, and remember to tune into the questionnaire every Wednesday at noon.
Yeah, I'm Paul Wines, the owner of Black Tulip Comics. Just if you're interested, just drop me a line at blacktulipcomics@gmail.com and keep a listen out to these crazy guys. They're absolutely wonderful. They think they're mad, but they're quite sane, really. Sorry, but you are.
All I know is that's proof you don't know us that well. This has been episode 11 of the questionnaire. I am the unknown factor. It's been Paul Wines in the house. You know, I got my brother from that
Jay D-Day Hardaway. I interrupted you because you forgot me.
Motherfucker, I was saying your shit so you can say your shit. You just
You always
give me a
forget
minute.
me.
Calm down. Shout out to Stephen Grant to where making it's like, you know, I ain't gonna edit myself no more. I'm just gonna be myself because myself is what myself is. Deal with it. It's UF, not FU. Have a good night. Paul Wines in the house.
Peace.